Hello internet, my name is Lave, and sorry this one's a bit late. I have watched Bad Boys for Life, which is the third film in the franchise, but the first one not to be directed by Michael Bay, who I'm sure is still involved as an exec producer, and he does have a little cameo in the film, but this one has been co-directed by Adil Arbi and Bilall Fallah. These guys. So the bad boys are back in town, a little older, not really that much wiser. Marcus still wants to retire and Mike is still the flashy hothead. But there's a new player in the Miami drug trade randomly executing targets that is somehow connected to their past. So once again, the bad boys are coming for them. Coming for them. Coming for them, yeah, they're coming for them, bad boys, bad boys. Plot-wise, I can't say too much for spoiler reasons, but it isn't really anything that we haven't seen before. It's just like every other buddy cop movie with aging buddy cops. A certain element of it did remind me of one of the Fast and Furious films. I think Marcus even says at one point, the most important thing is family. And it's full of all of the action tropes that we've got used to over so many recent movies. Like how many times has a bad guy been traced from recovered bullets that is only been made by one specific person, so they trace that person, which leads to the bad guy. Another element of it did remind me of the A-Team, with Marcus getting all religion now in the same way that B.A. Baracus did in that film. But then I remembered that this film has been written by Joe Carnahan, who was the director of the A-Team, and he was initially attached to direct this before he dropped out. So they've definitely recycled some story beats, but at the end of the day, they're not going for best screenplay at the Oscars this year. It's an action comedy designed to entertain, and it has its moments on both fronts. I laughed on a few occasions, even though the jokes were reused from the previous movies. You could argue that the jokes are just a continuation from the previous movie. I mean, Martin Lawrence did get the most laughs out of me again. Granted, most of his jokes are about him being too old for this shit, but he is too old for this shit, and his reasons for wanting to retire are more valid than ever. They're not indestructible, especially Will Smith's character, who's really fired up to get the bad guy in this one, but he's also too old for this shit. I didn't actually get to see Gemini Man last year, but it's interesting that both movies are essentially about him fighting youth. And it is unfortunate that there are a couple of scenes in this where it's painfully obvious that they've digitally head replaced a stunt double, especially earlier on in the film, when they establish that neither of them can't run anymore. And then later on you see Will Smith Usain Bolt it across this rooftop and he swipes someone's leg with his arm. And it's like, yeah, that clearly wasn't Will Smith. There is also some noticeable CGI and green screen elements in other certain scenes, which ironically means that this action film about aging action heroes won't age as well as its predecessors, but the directors have done a good job replicating the look and feel of Michael Bay's frenetic style, even having fun with some of his signature shots. There's plenty of returning characters too, like Joe Pantoliano is back as the captain, Theresa Randle, Marcus's wife, is also back, his extended family now is also back, which was kind of fun. His sister only gets mentioned once. Mike Lowry's new love interest is an old flame of his, played by Paula Nunez. Her character's called Rita, and she's the head of this new strike force team, which is full of these young hotshots. But the film weirdly only gives character development to one of them, the guy who looks like Kasper Schmeichel, who's given up violence and fighting with guns to be the tech guy, but then by the end of the film, he's got to use violence and fight with guns. Again, much like B.A. Baracus. The USP of the film and the franchise has always been the camaraderie and the banter between Smith and Lawrence, so the film is actually quite bold by separating the two for a while before they inevitably team up again for one last ride, which probably isn't going to be their last ride. I think the fourth film has already been greenlit and Michael Bay is attached to direct again, and this film clearly signposts and sequel baits how it's going to get there. I do wish that it had a sense of finality to it, but other than that, yeah, it was alright. So that's my thoughts on Bad Boys for Life, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. I noticed Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2 are available on Sky and Netflix to watch at the moment, because I never actually bought Bad Boys 1 or Bad Boys 2 on Blu-ray or DVD, which kind of shows how I feel about the franchise. I don't like it enough to actually buy it and own it, but I'd quite happily watch them again on TV or on Netflix, and it's the same case with this one. But let me know what you thought if you've seen it down in the comments, and as always, thanks very much for checking out this video. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give it a like, and don't forget to share the lave. What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Subscribe.